some questions, and I'm looking for a little guidance in relation to the hotel tax. And just a little background information. In 2017, there was a local organization that received a $50,000 grant to start up a new program. And at that time, Commissioner Ames, you told them that this was not to be an annual request for funding, that this was to start up the program. Yet last year, they received $25,000 again. I don't know if they've received anything this year. I'm not worrying about them, or this isn't about them. But that was just an example. In June of 2018, we, meaning the Friends of Coleman Memorial Park, applied for a hotel tax grant in the amount of $24,000 or $25,000 to repair the doors at the amphitheater, because we felt it was becoming a safety issue. We were starting to have, whenever they opened the doors, there's like metal shards raining down on people on the stage. That's a sign of a problem. So we had diverted some of our other funds into the doors because Commissioner Litz recommended or made a motion that our grant be approved, and it was not seconded. So then Commissioner Phillips made a motion that we be granted the maximum amount of $10,000, which we thank you. It certainly helped. But my question is, I got a copy, thank you, Kathy, for providing them. I got a copy of all the grants in 2017 and 2018 that were approved for, some of them well over the $10,000 amount. So we are in the early planning stages of some major infrastructure improvements at the park. Several of our water lines are actually terracotta, to give you an example of how old those water lines might be. They're deteriorating. We've been putting Band-Aids on this, on these fixes for a number of years. So we're in the very early stages of major infrastructure upgrade planning. And I just want to know, what do we have to do, or what is the criteria to get more than the $10,000 like so many of these other agencies did? Because this is a major problem. I mean, we have bathrooms that get closed down halfway through the season because the pipes are just deteriorating that much, and there's no electric in a lot of the park or a lot of the pavilions, and after all these years, it's time to upgrade some of this stuff. So I don't understand why some get approved for over the maximum and others can only get the maximum. So any kind of guidance or anything you can help me with that. It'll really help us in our planning right now.
I think what we generally try to do is to weigh, because it is the hotel tax, we try to weigh the grants against the direct relationship to drawing folks to the county. And we had a study done back when we started to work on the visitors program, the TPA and so on. We commissioned a study, and the study showed that the fairgrounds and the expo center is responsible for bringing 30 to 35% of the overnight stays, in other words, the hotel tax, to the county. So I think that would explain our generosity to them. You referred, I think, to the holiday lights. And yes, I did make that statement. Essentially what I was saying is that, don't come back for $50,000 every year. My understanding is that the CLA had indicated that if and when they make a profit on the holiday lights, it would be designated for Coleman Park. I think I'm making that as a correct statement. So that perhaps sheds some light on those decisions, at least on my part. I can't speak for either of the other two members of the board.
Well, I mean, if you're asking for guidance, the guidance I would suggest, Pam, is that develop some sort of a survey online as visitors come to your July 4th, to your things that are held at the amphitheater. Ask them to fill in the survey, collect those surveys, tabulate them. Like I say, online would be ideal, but the reality is if you can get somebody that's there, that's the most important. You need to document how many of your people, or if any people, are coming from outside of Lebanon County, because the tourism dollars have to be spent for tourism. So if you can show that 10% are coming for tourism, to me, that speaks a lot, because there are thousands of people there. So that would mean they're especially going to use the restrooms and not run home. If they want to lay down or something, they're there for the duration. So somehow document visitors to the park from outside the area and make that part of any grant application that you submit. That would be my guidance.
Okay. We do have that information because we know where the ball teams come from out of the state.
Okay.
When they're playing in that area. We know that Music in the Park, who co-sponsored the application with us, also brings in several acts from outside the state, actually. So we do have that type of information.
A
I'm sure we're
one-page
pulling-
summary, emphasizing those kinds of things, to me would say, hey, this deserves more than $10,000.
Okay, so there is more than $10,000 available, and that is not always the maximum amount.
It's maximum for local projects that do not show, as I said, unequivocally that there are
Okay,
outside visitors coming. I mean, we do small grants, like for instance, Friends of Old Landville just did one, I think, for $3,000 to advertise, to bring people from outside of the area to the county. They're targeting that for the advertising, so we funded that.
and this is the same criteria asked of all these organizations. Okay,
As far as I
thank
know.
you.
If I could add something to Pam, if you can ask for a grant directly in relationship to attracting, like Commissioner Litz said, for promoting and so on, rather than for infrastructure. I'm not saying that we couldn't give it for infrastructure, but I think it's, what our intention is to have it more directly related. I realize that, you can't have people come in if you don't have bathrooms, but if you can at least make the request and write the grant so that it deals with the direct production of the events and things like that. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it does, and that's why we thought the doors at the amphitheater met all of the criteria that you had both just mentioned, so that's why. It was just a little confusing, because there was no other reason given other than that's the maximum amount.
Well, I think what I'm hearing Commissioner Ames saying, and I don't want to speak for him, he can obviously correct me, but in other words, use your personal dollars for the toilets, and then the money you apply for, use for promotion and things bringing in the outside people.
Thank you. It's a very good clarification.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you for coming in, Pam.
I also have